For section 10.3, the main topic is constructions with se. So in previous lessons, we've learned that se can be used mainly as a pronoun, as a reflexive pronoun. So the third person, él se lava las manos, ella se ducha, usted se despierta. And it can also be the third person, singular or plural, indirect object pronoun when it's combined with a direct object pronoun. So you can see here, le dices la verdad. Le is the indirect object pronoun. La verdad is the direct object. When we replace la verdad with the direct object pronoun, la, since you can't have la, the le turns to a se. So se la dices. So those are two examples of se that we've seen so far. In this chapter, we're introduced with a third use, or another use of the se, for impersonal constructions, or the English equivalent of the passive voice. So generally in these cases, one use is when you're not sure who the subject is, or it's not defined. So the English, one must do their homework to succeed. One, you're not talking about a specific person, it's just more an impersonal general statement. Or they say that women live longer than men. They, who's they? Well, it's not a specific person, it's just more an impersonal abstract concept. So same thing in Spanish, you can create these same constructions here by placing the se in front of other verbs. So some examples here, se habla español in Costa Rica. Spanish is spoken in Costa Rica. Who's it spoken by? It's not defined. It's just more of an impersonal passive statement here. Se puede leer en la sala de espera. You can read in the waiting room. It's not talking to someone. It's just more of a general impersonal statement. One can read in the waiting room, or they can read in the waiting room. Se hace operaciones aquí. They perform operations here, or operations are performed here. There's not a specific person doing the action. It's just more an impersonal passive statement. So in all of these ones, you have just the se in front of the verb. Se habla, se puede, se necesitan, se hacen. And you can see the verb is conjugated to the subject here, or the only subject here, español, singular. Se puede leer, singular. Se necesitan medicinas, plural. Se hacen operaciones, hacen, conjugated to the third person, plural, rather than the singular. So one way you see these personal statements are with just general signs. So se prohibía nadar, swimming is prohibited, or no swimming allowed, or something like that. Se necesitan programadores, programmers needed. Entrada, se entra por la izquierda, one enters through the left. For all of these, it's not talking to a specific person, it's just more of a general impersonal statement. Another use of the se is when used with accidental or unplanned events. So a difference between English and Spanish is that Spanish speakers like to remove the blame from themselves. So for example, if you're writing with a pencil and your pencil breaks, you'd say, oh, I broke my pencil. Whereas in Spanish, they would say, oh, the pencil broke itself. Or an example here, let's say you drop your pen. I dropped my pen. You're putting the blame on yourself. Whereas in Spanish, se me cayó la pluma. The pen fell from my hand in this case. So it's the pen that has the blame, not yourself. So by doing that, you use se to create that statement. So here's a general construction of how these statements are made. Se with the verb in the third person, either singular or plural, depending on what the subject is, if it's singular or plural. And then the indirect object, to whom was it broken, or in that sense. So let's say se me dañó el radio. So the radio broke, or was broken in some sense. Se me dañó el radio. Or se te cayó la taza. The teacup fell from your hands in some sense. So here are some frequent verbs that are used with se to describe unplanned events. Caer, dañar, to damage, olvidar, perder, quedar, romper, so forth. For the verb caer, To drop, you use the construction se cayó, or se cayeron, to convey the idea of dropping. And one other thing you can do is to emphasize to whom or for whom it was dropped or fallen, broken, or so forth. You can add the indirect object. So al paciente, which is the indirect object, se le, the le is the indirect object, and se is the se construction with perdió la receta, signaling for whom it was lost, or lost, I guess. So for the homework, the first one, all you have to do is change these sentences into a passive form. So está prohibido fumar, you could say se prohíbe fumar. Since the verb is prohibido, we would say se with prohíbe, and since fumar is a verb, it would be the third person singular, se prohíbe fumar. Vendemos periódicos, so the verb is vender, so we would have se vende, venden, right? Because periódicos is plural, so vender would be conjugated to the third person plural, venden. Se venden periódicos. In this one, you answer these questions with what's in parentheses, but what you do is put it into the say with unplanned events. So, ¿qué les pasó a Pilar y Luis? Dañar el coche. Well, we would have se to convey that it was broken and that car broke itself. To whom did it happen? Pilar y Luis. So ellos, the indirect object pronoun for that is les. So se les dañó el coche. Dañó because el coche is singular. ¿Qué les pasó a los padres de Sara? Romper la botella de vino. Well, we would have se, and then who's the subject? To whom did it happen? Los padres. So les. And then la botella is singular, so romper would be rompió. Se les rompió la botella de vino. And these are all in the preterite tense, since it happened once in the past. No, if something doesn't continue to break, it breaks once. Or does something doesn't continue to get injured or break, it happens once. ¿Qué te pasó a ti? Perder las llaves del hotel. So se, since it's happened to me, se me, and then las llaves plural, so perder would be se me perdieron las llaves.